a little bit since I've spoke publicly, so I'm a disaster. I brought my tissue right there. My hand is shaking because it's been a while. Um, so I wrote it down too so that I don't ramble for you. I've been one of those people the past couple of months. You know, the ones, the close talkers. And all you did was give a polite greeting, and they gave you their life story, complete with hyperventilating sobs and snot on your arm. So when Pastor asked me to give a short talk about the challenges of motherhood and what I think I'm learning, I knew I should warn you, you're going to get the same awkward treatment. I've gone years without much crying. Let me get there. I've gone years without much crying, and have seemed to do little else the past 6 months. I've recently spent my driving time sobbing, yelling, along to the song, "Oh, How He Loves Us," like a new anthem over my life that I haven't quite figured out how to live as my children gaze on in slight embarrassed bewilderment. I can't remember the first time I heard happiness and joy aren't the same thing. Happiness is kind of worldly and based on your circumstances. Joy is the deep contentment you have in Christ no matter what. And then there's God is after your holiness, not your happiness. And that might be true when you look at the meaning of the English word happiness, but the Bible doesn't create happiness compartments like this in your life. I couldn't foresee how my blind acceptance of these simplified thoughts on happiness would shape my beliefs, or how after tragic loss and the slow death of hopes, they would feed my view of God, made into the image of my childhood father, a vindictive taskmaster, and myself as the perpetual martyr and suffering servant. I told you it was going to be too much. It gets worse. As my experiences of grief and suffering grew, so did my distorted view of happiness in the life of the believer. It was safer to be angry than wounded. It was easier to be disconnected than to deal honestly with hope deferred. I say this to set the stage for more recent history. We grow into adulthood, and as the workload grows, our tools for the job have to grow. Sometimes our workload grows faster than our ability to learn new tools. By the time Isaac was 1, I thought I was doing pretty good. Though still not happy, I was starting to measure up all right when it comes to this motherhood thing. But my glory days of mom grandeur came to a screeching halt when I gave birth to twins. My broken body, they're not quite developed ones. The months of TV babysitting, 3 hours a day devoted to pumping. I didn't ask for all of this, for all of these people, all of their voices at once. I didn't ask for twice the blessing. My workload had exponentially outgrown my skill set. I'd never really been here before. I didn't have the tools or the desire for this. An ever-elusive happiness was pushed further and further from my grasp. Moving into a construction zone revealed to me that I was still debilitated by lies. I was suffocating and going crazy. I was asking myself questions like, why did I get married? Why am I not in France eating baguettes by myself? I've done that before. It was really good. Mom life is hard. The feelings of anxiety, depression, never-ending overwhelmness, these feelings are common to our tribe. Add that to a good dose of self-pity, a history of debilitating anxiety, tragic loss, and close to run-ins with crazy, and you'll have a good idea where I was. Though I was determinedly taking thoughts captive and fighting for truth, I couldn't quite discern what I was fighting against. About a month ago, it all came to a climax. I could feel my grip on reality loosening. It was all closing in on me. And then in the midst of my this is where I'm probably going to cry, bitter, dark night of the soul, God gave me a gift. It was unmistakable and extravagant, just like He is. And I suddenly saw my circumstances weren't in the way of my happiness. A death grip on unmet expectations was. I knew, here is my good Father giving me good gifts because He is after my happiness. These idols He's painstakingly extracting, they're spiritual death. And I'm gripping them like my last hope at real life. Lies. I'll never have achieved enough to be happy. I'll never be free enough from life's responsibilities to be happy. Happiness isn't waiting behind a milestone for me to arrive, and it's certainly not going to be found in protecting myself from further loss. Motherhood is teaching me, at least I think, happiness is found in the freedom Jesus gives from protecting my goals and plans to achieve happiness, in turning from conceit and pride, and how my efforts have wounded those closest to me. It's the tool God is using to dig out lies I believe about his father nature that have created walls between us and so blocking happiness. I'm not out there chasing happiness for its own sake, but I truly see for the first time that God is showing me the way to true happiness and joy, real happiness, where I can look around my life and say with a broken and contrite heart, "Oh God, this is glorious."